And we're back. Hey all, this is Spin Doctors Archive, the podcast. I am Daniel Heinze, Spin Doctors fan from Leipzig, Germany, and the guy behind spindoctorsarchive.com, which is your website for all things spins. And in this podcast series, you hear discussions with Aaron Commerce, Spin Doctors drummer, about the albums released by the band since their early days in the 80s. And this is episode number 7. And this one is all about If the River Was Whiskey, Spin Doctors' 2013 blues record. Before we jump right into the conversation, here's a little reminder. The next episode of this podcast will be a Q&A session with Aaron about everything you want to know about Spin Doctors, about their albums and the band's history and so on. Please make sure to send me your questions. Feel free to send me a DM on Facebook or Instagram. Our handle is Spin Doctors Archive on both. Or simply comment with your question under the podcast posts on our socials. Thanks for all the great questions you guys have sent already, but please keep them coming. I want more. Thanks in advance for your input for the Q&A. Okay, ready for some blues and whiskey and stuff? Cool, then enjoy the episode. Let's talk about the Spin Doctors 2013 album If the River Was Whiskey and the accompanying live release 2 years later, Songs from the Road. And as always, we have Aaron Commerce with us. Aaron, great to have you here.
Good to be here. How you doing?
Doing great. Aaron, 2013, so 8 years fast forward since Nice Talking to Me. A lot of things happened. The band was touring a little bit, in some years a little bit more in other years. And then in 2011, there was the big Pocket Full of Kryptonite anniversary, 20th anniversary tour. And this, if I remember correctly, was the time where the seed was planted for what we're talking about today, an album consisting of 10 tracks released in May 2013. And here are the tracks that are on it. Some Other Men Instead, If the River Was Whiskey, Sweetest Portion, Traction Blues, Scotch and Water Blues, About a Train, The Drop, Bands Looking Out the Window, Blues, So Bad, and What My Love. It was produced by Spin Doctors, recorded and mixed by Roman Clune, and it includes 2 brand new tunes, 5 previously unrecorded and unreleased songs from the early days, and 3 re-recordings of previously released material, which is What My Love, Scotch and Water Blues, and of course, About a Train, yes. Right. So yeah, this is what I know from the spindoctorsarchive.com website. And now, as always, it's up to you, Aaron. What do you remember from that recording session and that album?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to remember what really brought it on. I think you're right. When we did the 20th anniversary Pocket Full of Kryptonite, and we did a tour behind that, if I remember correctly, where we played the record. And I think we also did some other songs you would know better in the set list. I don't know if we started playing some of those songs. Maybe?
I remember that you guys started playing some of the old blues songs during the encores and the Pocket for Kryptonite anniversary shows where you played the album in sequence.
Right.
And I remember Dave Landsberger and I were with you in England, and we asked you if you could play like So Bad or The Drop and stuff like that. And for whatever reason, you guys brought it out. I have no idea if at that point you already had the idea to bring those songs back, or if it was really that tour that.
I mean, the truth is, I don't remember exactly what made us decide to record all those songs, but I know that to give you a little backstory. Well, you already know this, but to give the listeners a little backstory, when the band first started, we were playing clubs in New York City. This is like right out of the gate in like fall of '88 and then into '89. And one of the best gigs you could get at the time that actually paid money was this place called Mondo Cane and Mondo Perso. And a lot of people played there. Blues Traveler was playing there. Joan Osborne was playing there. A lot of our friends were playing there, and but it was a blues bar, and you did 4 sets a night. You played from like 10 to 2, and they wanted it blues. So we really wanted to get the gig there. So we basically made a demo tape of blues songs. We all loved the blues, and we just wrote all these blues songs. Chris had, always had all these great lyrics. He had a couple things already. We were like, well, let's do a shuffle. Let's do a slow blues. Let's do something rockin'. Let's do something funky. We tried to cover all the different feels
So you
blues.
basically wrote original songs that sounded like old blues songs.
Yeah, exactly. We were just writing, and we decided let's write a repertoire of blues songs. And again, I grew up in Texas, so I grew up playing blues gigs. Eric had been in a whole lot of blues bands. Chris, loved the blues. This is before Mark joined, and that a lot of these came to be. And then, so we made this demo. I can't remember. It was probably with Ross, actually, Ross Bowden, one of the original guys. I don't know where that demo is, but we definitely made some sort of demo of 5 or 6 blues songs, and we gave it to this guy Adolph, who booked the Mondo Cane. At first, it was just Mondo Cane, and then about 6 months later, Mondo Perso opened right down the street, and he gave us a gig, and so basically we would go in there and we would do like the first set all blues, second set mostly blues, and then we'd start to throw in our originals. By the third or fourth set, it was just us doing our originals, and people loved it, and Adolph loved it, and we got away with it, But basically, we sort of faked being this traditional blues band to get into this club, because on a weekday you made $250 a night, and on a weekend, if you get up to the weekend, you made $500 a night. This is 1989. That's big money back then, and we were just trying to survive, So. That's really sort of how we ended up with this repertoire of blues songs. And I know way back, like during the whole Kryptonite era, maybe it was before Turn It Upside Down. I remember when we were doing the Turn It Upside Down record, I think one night we had like a little audience come in and we recorded a bunch of those songs. And this just to have. And I think we actually used a few as like B-sides, maybe, right?
I think it was kind of an EP that you guys released as the You Let Your Heart Go Too Fast single. It's You Let Your Heart Go Too Fast, and then Badman Blues, Scotch and Water Blues, What My Love, and Jimmy Olsen's Blues.
Badman Blues, that we didn't do that on.
No, you didn't.
Damn, you got to send me that. Sure. Anyway, so that's the origin of those songs. That's how it happened, Yeah. And then.
And the songs were kind of in rotation every now and then. And I remember we
played them all the time because we were playing these clubs regularly.
And you did a blues set the night of the release day of Turn It Upside Down. They had like a pre-show set with all those songs.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty regularly. I mean, a song like The Drop. I mean, that almost made it on the Turn It Upside Down. I think we recorded like some versions of that. I mean, there was a lot of those songs were sort of in the rotation. And then, so now it's like 2000. What's the year when we did that record?
13. 11 was the Pocket for Kryptonite tour.
Yeah.
And the album came out in May 13. Then.
So like, again, the basic idea was like, I had my studio on 13th Street. The idea was like, we weren't really the idea wasn't even to make a record. We were just like, let's just go to my studio and record all these blues songs one day. When we decided, like, we're not going to do any overdubs. We're just going to play them just like we always did live. I mean, there's no overdubs. Just 4 guys in a room playing blues the way it's meant to be played. And before that, though, I remember we were doing a rehearsal for something. Maybe it was a gig. I mean, well, we don't rehearse very often. We get together every year or two, just to maybe go over some new songs or old songs or things we want to bring back. And I think like both Some Other Man and Whiskey, we wrote that day. I mean, Eric just had these riffs and we were just jamming. And next thing you know, Chris, and it was just real organically. Oh, cool. These are cool, And so that might have sort of spawned the idea, but all I know is we had 2 new songs. We had a whole handful of old songs, and we were just like, let's go to my studio for a couple of days and just record them. No plan to make a record at all. Let's just record them. It was really just for the fun of it. And it just went great. The vibe was right. We were relaxed. There was nothing intended for it. And we did it. And we decided to bring back Bat a Train, which is, not a traditional blues song, but it's certainly blues based. And that came out great, the old way, the way it's supposed to be. And we did like, what's the... Give me the list. Can you put up the list again?
It's Some Other Men instead. Whiskey, Sweetest Portion, Traction Blues, Scotch and Water.
Sweetest Portion. Yeah, that was one we hadn't played in years.
Yeah.
And that's probably my favorite song on that record. I love it. The way because we took a different approach to it, before, and it was like, sort of mellow and with, I just love it.
You do something special on the drums with it, right? You
Yeah, I
have
played
the
like a
tambourine
ballad
on the hi-hat or something like that.
Yeah, I put like a tea towel on the head, and
I
it's
see.
like
Yeah.
a tambourine on my hi. So it's just this real. Um, I really love that. It's actually one of my favorite tracks we've ever done, because I feel like it doesn't sound like anything the band has ever recorded before. It's just very like, I love the song, and I love the way we did it that day, and we played it quite a bit. When we toured. I mean, we should bring that back. I just love it. I'm real proud of that one. But basically, we did this record. It was really chill. We had a couple friends or girlfriends were like just sort of hanging around on the couch, and you know, Roman mixed it real quick because it was just four guys. There wasn't a whole lot to do, and we were like, "Holy shit! This sounds like a record. This is really cool." And I remember we got really excited about it and called up, our manager Sonnenberg,
Uh-huh.
and we're like, "Man, we just recorded all these blues tunes. We really think it's cool. I mean, we'd love to we should do something with this." And he was just kind of like, "Yeah, whatever." He's like, "Send it over to me." I was like, "No. We're gonna come up and play it for you." I know Sonnenberg well. It's like he's one of these guys you want to get in a room with him to play and really get his attention, not just send somebody something. So he's like, "All right, we'll come up, whatever, Tuesday afternoon." So me and Chris went up there and we sat there and we played the whole record for him. And he was just totally blown away. He was like, "Wow, this is amazing. I really see why you guys wanted to play it for me in person." So it was cool. And it was like, so we had this cool blues record, and Jason Richardson, our longtime manager, co-manager, suggested that we call, because we're trying to figure out who can put this out. And he suggested Rough Nation?
Roof Records, and the German label, actually, right?
Yeah, Roof Records, which is a blues label in Germany. Thomas Roof.
Yeah.
And he was great, and he loved the record. And so we signed a deal with him, and we put out the record, and we toured Europe, and it was a lot of fun. It was there wasn't like this big pressure because nobody was trying. It wasn't about having a radio hit or anything like that. This was just like, this is sort of showing people this is the roots of the Spin Doctors. This is.
But you got sensational reviews, right? Like some of the best of your entire.
One of the best reviewed records we ever had. It was. I think it just was cool because a lot of people, everybody always has in their mind what a band is. And a band like us that had such a big sort of commercial success early on, you're always sort of chasing that a little bit. Or not that we are, but the press or the industry is looking at that, even fans, And so this record, it just had nothing to do with that. It was just like, holy shit, these guys are like, this is really cool. They're doing something what seemed different in a way, but it really was just showing people where our actual roots came from and how it was a great story because it sort of explained to people how we actually paid our rent the first year and a half we were a band,
The interesting thing was that all the old school fans were like, "Yeah, this is the sound that I know from Spin Doctors," and more casual fans were like, "This record sounds completely different than anything else that the band has done." To me, it was the band coming full circle in a way, doing the music from the very early days, way back before I was a fan, and now doing it, being older and maybe being mature enough to do some serious blues in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you were very young when you wrote that stuff, but you were a bit older when you recorded it.
No question. Like when I've heard some of the stuff we recorded like back like at that session, that where we used a couple of those songs, and it sounds good, but I feel like but with the age and the maturity development, this record, I feel like we were able to come to those songs in a much better, more mature way. And I love the record. It's really cool. It's really organic. And there's just not 1 ounce of bullshit on it. And it was fun touring it. It can be challenging because I remember the thing about like a lot of bands, other bands, it's not like we're the first band that put out a blues record. A lot of people do it. I think in our case, it was authentic because it was something that we really started at, and it might not be completely 100% traditional blues, but whatever that is. But, we all have traditional roots in that. And we had a sort of our own way of playing the blues, And but it can be hard when you come to a concert and you're coming to see a band like Spin Doctors and you're expecting to hear certain songs. You don't want to overkill them with too much. You go there and you see, like, if they're going to do a whole set of blues, people are going to walk out. Because I'll never forget, like, one time I went and saw Steve Miller at the Beacon Theater, and he just put out a blues record, and he did, like, right in the middle of the show, he did like 7 blues songs. I remember that it just went like this. Nobody.
It's too much blues for the audience.
I know that he comes from a blues world. He's a blues, but it's like you have to be careful about that, and I've always tried to be conscious of that, because, like, you have to be careful. And again, some of these shows were playing like smaller clubs. It really worked well. The cool thing is a lot of those songs did work in the set, in a good way, and still do.
I just wanted to say that you're still playing Traction Blues and If the River Was Whiskey quite regularly, right?
Traction Blues is a staple.
Yeah.
River is Whiskey. We haven't done that as much lately, but for a while it was like a real staple. It always went over great.
And of course, the new staple, About a Train, right?
That's taken on a new life in the last couple of years. And like, but like, I mean, we've done Some Other Man Instead has been the set. I mean, they all work. You just can't pound people over the head with that stuff. You gotta, especially now. And it's one thing when you just put out a new record. But anyway, it was a very cool organic record. It really just sort of came out of the blue. There was really no major thought in it. I think we just, again, we got lucky and captured a cool moment in time with us. And it ended up getting a really strong reaction,
What I really love about it is the fact that you really did nothing with it from that original session. That it was like the stuff that you played that one day or those 2 days and kept it like that, which is part of the magic of it, I think.
It's not one overdub or fix on the record. It's just like the old days, like the way people made blues records. You go in a studio and you record it. The only difference is we use more than one mic.
Yeah, sure.
That was the idea. Was just play. And that's always been the essence of what the Spin Doctors are as a band. And I think we, besides some of the experimentation we've taken on some studio records, I mean, the best quality we've ever had is just the chemistry and the songs and finding sometimes you have to get the stars have to align a little bit for that chemistry to really work. I mean, I think in a band that we've certainly had our ups and downs, personality wise, and we've had tension if you look through the years. And then, when things are not good, it affects the music. But like you get these moments when things are really good and it can be like a really magical thing. And I think this record, everything was just totally together, great vibes, no pressure.
Yeah.
And it worked,
And from this vibe and from the success of the tour and all the good reviews, this was I think the idea to put out a live album made of this stuff, the blues stuff, and of course of the hits. And this was released on April 25th in 2015, and it's called Songs from the Road. Actually, Songs from the Road is the name of a series of live releases from Roof Records, as far as I know. And you guys, released one of your shows from the 2013 Germany tour. It's from Bonn, I think. Yeah, it's from Bonn, Germany, October 17th, 2013, and it's a 40.
Yeah, it was from the famous German show Rock Palast.
Exactly. Everyone in Germany, every music fan in Germany knows what Rock Palast is. It's like from a TV broadcasting company called WDR, and they have that show for like 40 years where they show great live concerts. And you guys did one show for Rock Palast back then.
So then we put it out as a DVD and as a live record. And because I don't know that we planned on it, but it just came out great. It was a really good show, and Roof had, like you said, had the series Songs from the Road. So a lot of their artists put out these live records, and we did it. We mixed it. Roman mixed it, and the video looked really well. It was well shot, and I think it's a cool record. I think it was a good representation of us at that time of what we were doing live.
It also has a neat little interview with you guys, I think with you and Chris.
Okay.
It's on the DVD. So yeah, thanks very much for all those details and all the insight on the album If the River Was Whiskey. In case you missed our episode on You've Got to Believe in Something, you guys should listen to this one as well, as Aaron is talking a lot about a train, the song, and how it came that in 1996 they did a completely different version to what they are playing nowadays and what ended up on If the River Was Whiskey. So this is a recommended listen. Aaron, it was great talking to you. Thank you very much for all the stories about If the River Was Whiskey.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
As always, thank you for listening and thanks for all the great feedback over the last couple of months. I'm really happy that you guys liked the idea of doing a podcast series discussing one Spins album at a time. Up next is the Q&A session with Aaron, and after that, there will be an episode about the upcoming 7th studio album just in time before the record drops. So don't forget to send questions for Aaron, preferably via Instagram or Facebook DM. Our handle is Spin Doctors Archive. And as always, check spindoctorsarchive.com for all Spin Doctors information, including news, current and past set lists, links to numerous live recordings, detailed band and solo discographies, a list of all original and cover songs performed or recorded by the band, and so much more. Feel free to share your feedback on the podcast and remember to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. I'm Daniel. Thanks for listening. Aaron and I will be back with the Q&A in early fall, I guess. Until then, Mau Bi Ciao.
Eric motherfucking shit!